A new film will have y'all on the edge of your seat. Trust me, I've seen it twice. It was terrifying. A House of Dynamite is an anxiety-fueled, high-stakes thriller that follows members of the U.S. government as they scramble to respond to a looming nuclear threat. It tracks what the director calls the, quote, 18 minutes to decide the fate of the world. Take a look at the trailer.
I always thought just being ready is the point. It keeps the villain in check. Keeps the world straight. They see how prepared we are. No one starts a nuclear war.
Approximately 3 minutes ago, we detected an ICBM over the Pacific. Current flight trajectory is consistent with impact somewhere in the continental United States.
Have we seen that country before? No.
Joining us now, Noah Oppenheim, writer and producer of A House of Dynamite. Thank you so much for joining us. I've seen it twice. I watched it last week, and I watched it last night with my husband, and I got a bone to pick with you. It was very stressful. I couldn't sleep. It was a rough one now. Even the second time watching it, knowing what's going to happen, it was still just as stressful. So congrats to you and the team. What I took from it is the world feels so much more brittle than we think, right? It is based on people making choices and decisions in the moment, hoping that it works out. And the other question that I have, and I guess I have for you, when you guys are writing this, researching this, did you have the feeling of how did we do this to ourselves? How do we put ourselves in a position where, as a world, where this kind of threat is even possible?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think brittle is a great word to describe the situation. Precarious ever since really the dawn of the nuclear age. We don't often think about it. We haven't thought about it as much since the end of the Cold War, but we have lurking in the background of our lives every day these weapons. There are enough of them to destroy the planet several times over. And we have these systems in place and these strategic philosophies like mutually assured destruction that are meant to govern their use. But all it would take is for one bad actor or one accident to send all these dominoes colliding and falling and dragging us towards perhaps calamity. So, when we started working on this, the question was just, what is the status of our kind of nuclear arsenal today? How would a scenario like this unfold if a missile were to go off somewhere in the world? And, Catherine Bigelow, who's one of the great filmmakers of our time, who did Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30, she and I just started talking to people who had worked at STRATCOM, our strategic command. It's based in Omaha that controls our nuclear arsenal. Talked to people who worked at the Pentagon, the White House, and we kind of reported it out as you would if you were reporting out a newspaper story, and just asked them a ton of questions. How does it work? What are the processes? What are the procedures? So what you see on screen is hopefully a fairly accurate portrait of the reality that exists. And yeah, it's unfortunately somewhat scary to think about.
Right. Noah, one thing that you also see on screen is the humanity of the people involved. Why was it important to show things like folks looking at baby pictures of their families, the little dinosaur she puts on her desk when everything starts going to hell?
Tremendously important, because we think of these institutions as monoliths, and we don't often account for the fact that behind every desk and every chair is a human being. And so we can build all of these processes, procedures. We can have all these thick binders full of steps you're supposed to take in every scenario. But at the end of the day, it's always going to be people making these decisions. And it's going to be people who, just like all of us, wake up in the morning and maybe they're fighting with their partner. Maybe they've got a kid who needs to be taken to the doctor. Maybe they had too much to drink the night before. And all of those human factors are going to be critical in influencing what happens. I think the other piece of it that was important to us is every one of the folks that we met, the people who are watch officers in the White House Situation Room, the people who the military people who work at Strategic Command of the Pentagon. These are incredible public servants who are sacrificing an enormous amount to stand on the front lines and try to keep us all safe every day. And we wanted to reflect them in their three-dimensional humanity on screen.
Mm-hmm. And Noah, we do have some breaking news that the movie has elicited. Bloomberg last night obtained an internal memo from the Pentagon about the movie. In this report, it says a Missile Defense Agency internal memorandum argues that the doomsday scenario depicted in the movie is inaccurate and that the fictional interceptors in the movie missed their target. And we understand this is intended to be a compelling part of the drama intended for the entertainment of the audience, but results from real-world testing tell a vastly different story, the Pentagon says in the memo.
They have other things to worry about.
Yeah, what's your response to this? And what Jonathan said, why is the Pentagon writing memos about the movie?
They also wrote one about the pink mermaid.
Did you provide screeners to the Pentagon, to Pete Hegseth?
I'll diverge from Jonathan slightly. I welcome the conversation. I'm so glad the Pentagon watched or is watching and is paying attention to it, because this is exactly the conversation we want to have. So they're alluding to a moment in the movie where our mid-course missile intercept system fails, that we fail to knock down the incoming missile. They're claiming in that memo, they're saying that our real-world system is actually far more accurate than what we depict in the movie. We respectfully disagree. I'm not a missile defense expert. However, I did talk to many missile defense experts who are all on the record, and there is
any current administration officials?
Well, no, we did not seek the cooperation of the Pentagon at all, or the current administration, in making the movie. But it's all out there in the public domain, and unfortunately, our missile defense system is highly imperfect. And if the Pentagon wants to have a conversation about improving it, or what the next step might be in keeping all of us safer, that's exactly the conversation we want to have. But what we show in the movie is accurate.
And I think you have your sequel. Although next time, please maybe assign a journalist to be following the president.
Yeah, there were some things in there. Noah.
We'll pass along our notes later. Noah Oppenheim, thank you so much for joining us.